Welcome to Anglesey on the Welsh coast for the Toyo Tyres Porsche Championship. Two thrilling races are coming up for you today, and the championship battle at the top gets ever closer. Gary Lawrence is leading, but only by 12 points from pole position man Andrew Porter. Andrew, it's going to be tight out there this morning in the race. What can you do with the guys behind, Nick Hull and Gary Lawrence?
Just trying to get a good start and get away, and hopefully if they start battling with each other, I can try and get a bit of a gap and keep them behind. But that's the plan. Whether it works or not, you never know.
Yeah, it's an interesting run into the first corner here, and then particularly into the second corner, the hairpin. I guess keeping those two behind you is going to be part of the strategy.
Yeah, it's just that initial launch, and obviously depending on what Nick does as well, it's where I can get myself. If he gets down the inside, we'll just have to hopefully go side by side with each other and battle on a different corner. But yeah, until it happens, we just don't know.
Andrew, we wish you all the best out there. Thanks for your time talking to us. As you said, Nick Hull starts second place on the grid, and it's going to be interesting to see what Nick does out there. Nick, it's a great track here at Anglesey. You've got the two main championship contenders either side of you. Are you going to spoil their battle?
I'm hoping so, yeah. I a lucky man, eh? In between Porter and Gaza. I'm hoping to get a good start. Hopefully that's the idea, and try and get in the lead by the first corner, and then hopefully these two will end up battling with each other and try and get away. But best laid plans and all that.
Yeah, you've actually not got a bad starting position, particularly going into that front corner. Give you a good run into the inside, but that puts you on the outside for the second corner if everything gets a bit tight and close. Is the outside of the second corner somewhere where you can keep a position?
Yeah, I think it is. It's wide enough here, and there's enough grip. We've got the new slip diffs in these now as well, so we're getting more drive out of the corners. So yeah, I think it's as long as they end up getting pushed out wide a bit into it as well, then we should be okay.
Okay, well, it'll be interesting to see what happens. We'll see if your prediction comes true. Best of luck out there, Nick.
Thanks so much. Thanks, guys.
So there we go. That's second on the grid. Gary Lawrence, championship leader. He's starting third. Now, what's going to happen? What can Gary do from third on the grid? Let's see. Gary, third place.
Yeah.
Your main championship rival is starting on pole, but you're going to be sat right behind him.
Yeah.
Can you get a better launch off the grid?
Oh, we'll have a good go. They've got diffs in theirs, which does make a difference. Not that I'm trying to make excuses, although I am. No, we'll see. No, it should be good fun. I mean, it's fantastic here at Anglesey. I love the circuit, and the weather's brilliant for racing. So yeah, we'll see how we go.
Going to be an interesting 20 minutes.
Yeah, he'll have me full in his mirrors, that's for sure.
That's what we like to see. Best of luck out there, Gary.
Cheers.
And we look forward to speaking to you after the race. So there we go, the top three. It's going to be tight out there. It's over to Richard John Neal to take you through all of the race one action.
Thank you, Lloyd. Who doesn't love a bit of Toyo Tyres BRSCC Porsche Championship action? Andrew Porter on pole, Nick Hull P2, Gary Lawrence P3, Lee Bowden next up. The 924 pole goes to Peter Smith from Carl Rossin, John Jones and Chris Valentine on row 2 for the classics, and then Andy Pritchard completing our race grid. Let's look at the lighting gantry top right of shot. The lights are on. Nick Hull in blue is on the outside of the front row, and these wonderful race cars are underway. It's a very quick start by the outside front row man, Nick Hull, trying to hang on. He's got the inside lines that come to turn 1. All 4 Boxsters together. Gary Lawrence looks on the inside line in number 4. and gets through. Crucial move for Gary Lawrence to get ahead of Andrew Porter on pole position. Lee Bowden, who won here in the productions, is in 4th, but they were in formation going through turn 1. Great racing from the Boxsters and a super start from the Classic 924s as well. Superb to welcome Carl Rossin back into the mix. It's Rossin who leads the 924s as Nick Hull goes up into Rocket in lead position. Now we've got Andrew Porter busy challenging for the lead as well, but Carl Rossin the lead. There's Chris Valentine, Chris's debut here, racing debut on Anglesey. Same too for John Jones in the red 639 car. And good to welcome Andy Pritchard back. Haven't seen him since the retirement at Snetterton. So the 924's putting on a good show as Nick Hull continues to lead from Gary Lawrence. Nick stealing some championship points potentially away here from Gary Lawrence, but Lawrence making a very good start. Nick Hull, maybe we'll be looking at a first win of the season for Nick Hull as he goes round into turn 1 again with Gary Lawrence in hot pursuit. As you heard, 12 points on drop scores, separating Lawrence and Porter in the championship. Lawrence on 5 wins so far. Porter on the 4. Pete Smith trying to close down on Carl Rossin. Great to see Carl back here, the 8-time winner in Porsches racing, that is. Won here back in 2014 on Anglesey, so has a little bit of previous experience which we'll bring to bear. No doubt we'll share with his colleagues as we ride on board with Chris Valentine. Chris trying to edge towards 3rd position in the championship for the Classic 924s. But it's Rossin that leads things at the moment. Peter Smith is in 2nd place, but coming under a little bit of pressure. So Smith in the 18 car, only, let me see, 22 points down on the championship leader Hugh Pert, who's not here this weekend. So Smith potentially could get the championship lead, as now we've got Gary Lawrence in front. So Lawrence leading up ahead of Nick Hull. Then in 3rd place, pole position man Andrew Porter. Lee Bowden by no means being left at the moment. He's still in 4th place. And a good onboard here with Nick Hull chasing Gary Lawrence. Gary looking to try and take win number 6 and just start to build some confidence up. Remember, had a non-finish in the triple header at Croft, which was a little dent in his championship points. Andrew Porter's had 1 DNF so far this year. Gary Lawrence has 2. You might remember me going through the point situation with me when we were at Croft, and it is crucial about retirements at this stage. The lead trio all pretty close. Lee Bowden not that far behind, and Andrew Porter trying to close down in on Nick Hull, who's in P2. Good to see Nick putting problems behind him as well. Nick getting defensive going into Rocket. In fact, that was maybe an attacking move, because he closed up under braking on Gary Lawrence. Lawrence maybe the most travelled driver here, coming all the way from Devon. Fair old commute for him, and still out front. So Nick Hull in 2nd place, and looking to try and put the pressure on, but also will be mindful of Andrew Porter right behind him as well. Lee Bowden, as I mentioned, the former production champion, took wins here in 2018. Now, whatever happens, thinking about this, we're going to have a first-time winner in the Boxsters, because none of the drivers in the Supersport Boxster class have won in the Boxster Supersport class here before. So we're going to see a little bit of PDA history in the making as Nick Hull runs wide and Andrew Porter sees the gap, goes through. Good clean racing again between the pair. Here's the onboard, not what Nick Hull wants to see. So Porter now can begin to try and reel in Gary Lawrence out front. So we've got 1st and 2nd in the championship, 1st and 2nd in the race. Nick Hull in 3rd, but don't discount Nick yet. Won races in the early days of the Boxster formula, as I've mentioned a few times before. Still running in 3rd place, up ahead of Lee Bowden. So it's Lawrence, who qualified 3rd, out front. Porter in 2nd position, and then Nick Hull, the man from Harrogate, who has started all bar 2 races this year, had 2 DNFs as well, so technically 4 non-scores for him, which eats into his drop score scenario, therefore won't drop anything. He's on 116.5 points coming into this round, and very nearly 40 points shy at the moment in terms of gross points on the man that's in front of him, Andrew Porter. Is Porter getting closer here to Gary Lawrence? Lawrence looks like he's not building a lead, and Porter starting to get a little bit of momentum happening now in the 33 car. So I think we could potentially see the battle between the 4 car and the 33 definitely closing in now. Andrew Porter, the pole position man, knows he's got the speed, of course, having set that pole position time in qualifying with a 1:18.512, 1.2 seconds quicker than Nick Hull in qualifying. It's a big gap. Gary Lawrence's time was a 1:19.8. Almost 1.3 seconds down on the man who's chasing him up the hill and starting to put pressure on. And look at that line by Andrew Porter. Nice confident sweep and goes to the outside line at the second part of the Rocket Complex. Looks round the outside, nothing doing there. Can he get a run down the straight into Peel? He's got his nose on the inside line. Gary Lawrence won't want to cede the place. Grabs the line through Peel corner, heading down towards the complex once again. So very much race on here between Gary Lawrence and Andrew Porter, and Nick Hull again starting to reel them in as they start to squabble. They'll slow each other up, and this is bringing the 44 car in. This is one of the reasons I love motor racing. And Nick Hull, of course, as we get into the second half of the race, might get a second wind as well. He's already led the race off the start in car with Carl Rossin, who has now dropped back. So leading the 924s, it's Pete Smith from Chris Valentine. Chris, immediately in front of us, is in second place and not that far away from the leader. Chris looking for career win number 2 in the 924s, having won the opening race for the 924s at Brands Hatch with a great drive, and still looking for third place in the championship as well. Here's the outfield shot of that. There is Chris Valentine, comes from Leighton Buzzard, hasn't done all the rounds with us this year, and hence doesn't have any drop scores, but is chasing third position in the championship. Hugh Pert leading the series at the moment, 138.5 points, 127 on net scores. Peter Smith on 105, by my reckoning, could nab the championship lead this weekend. He's certainly got the race lead. Carl Rossin, great to see him back on track as well in the 924s, which has such a long history, the 924. It's been a great car for the BRSCC Championship. And Pete Smith joined us at Cadwell Park. That was our third event of the year, and really hasn't looked back since then. Still racing very hard and leading the race in the 924s here on Anglesey. Welcome back to Anglesey. This is the battle for the overall lead. Gary Lawrence, as you can see, as he was before the break, under pressure from Andrew Porter. Porter here, if he wins this race, will equal Gary Lawrence in terms of race wins and will close down in terms of the championship standings as well. We're into the second half of this race, but Lawrence soaking up the pressure. Porter piling the pressure on. Still got Nick Hull in third position. Don't discount Nick Hull in blue either at the moment. On for some decent points here too. Through the final corner they go. Tick off another lap. And I think Lawrence might have responded on that one. Goes down towards turn 1 once again. Porter, fastest man in this race so far. Lap 4, a 1:19.081. Gary Lawrence takes a wide line into the banking, which is turn 2. Out of that, down the straight towards Church. Porter will try maybe and get some momentum up the hill and have a look at the inside line. He had a very good run into the Rocket Complex a couple of laps ago, which you saw, and that resulted in him being able to take an outside run, which didn't quite pay off on Gary Lawrence, who held his nerve. I don't think. This is where Porter did it last time, and again you can see taking a not as wide a line as he did when he made the move before, and he's not biting on the outside line here, but he is still exploring maybe a little bit more of the track on the way out, and now gets momentum out of the corner, dives down the inside with ease on Gary Lawrence, passes Lawrence to take. Lawrence has got a problem. Lawrence slowing up. That's why the move to take the lead was so emphatic. Porter's got the lead. Nick Hull is through into second, and we've lost Gary Lawrence. Gary Lawrence is going to lose here. Is going to lose the championship lead. Lawrence slowing down. That is bitter news for Lawrence. A third retirement of the season. Well, Porter was up and challenging him, but it's a mechanical failure for Gary Lawrence, who's our only retiree from the race. Nick Hull is second now. Nick Hull's had 2 other second places this year, so no stranger to the podium or the second step. Can he close in on Porter and maybe grab a first race win of the season? Nick Hull, his best time is not that far away from Andrew Porter, a 1:19.4, so could close in, but Porter here will take the championship lead and will equal Gary Lawrence on 5 race wins apiece. Remember, we started the year with Rick Styrin guesting in the championship, took 4 wins. Here's the view from Carl Rossin once again in the 41 car, the returnee to the championship. He'll be delighted to have seen the progress that Chris Valentine has made in the championship, but won't be delighted to see Chris in front of him at the moment, for sure. But very competitive racing going on in the Classic 924s. And at the battle for second position, it's Peter Smith, who is 4th overall in this race and leading the 924s from Chris and Carl. John Jones running in 4th in class, Andy Pritchard 5th. Jones still 3rd, actually joint 2nd in the championship standings coming into this event with Peter Smith. And Peter here will close in on Hugh Pert. And we'll be maybe thinking, Peter Smith, about the championship lead when we get into race number 2. But a fine battle here for second position in the Classic 924s. And Carl Rossin putting a good amount of pressure on Chris Valentine. And Chris, as we've seen, has attacked when necessary to make passes, but also is proving to be someone who's not flurried by having quick drivers behind him. Really learning his racecraft. Now he's had finished every race he started this year. I hate saying that sort of thing because that usually can preclude a retirement in racing, but he's, aside from one race, finished in a podium position in every start in the 924, so only the fact that he hasn't been at every single round this year, Chris Valentine. Missed the Cadwell Park round. The other blank on the score sheet was race 1 at Snet, which I seem to remember was Sunstroke, and can catch anybody out, Sunstroke, and hats off to him for not racing when he was feeling unwell. There's nothing worse than, you could cause a problem for yourself and others if you're ill going into a race car. But he's certainly far from that today, still second position. Good battle between those two. Remember, we've got Jones and Pritchard behind, and Pete Smith still leading, who will consolidate second in the championship and close in on Hugh Pert, who is an absentee this weekend. Missed you at Brands Hatch, built up a good championship lead. I wonder if we'll see him back at Silverstone and maybe Donington Park. We've got 2 triple headers coming up. So there is John Jones. We're in car again with Nick Hull. Goes through past John Jones, 4th in the 924 class. Still the race leader, Andrew Porter, up ahead of Nick Hull. So it's going to be good points. Hull 3rd in the championship will maybe, he's on 116.5. Gary Lawrence was on 148 after drop scores, but there'll be 1595, so he'll keep all his points now, will Gary Lawrence, because of the 3 retirements. And that means that Nick Hull will close in on Gary Lawrence. Porter will take the championship lead. Here's the 639 car with Andy Pritchard in the number 11, so it's John Jones and Andy Pritchard 4th and 5th in the 924s at the moment. We're on the last lap though on Anglesey, 1.5 miles to go for Nick Hull, who goes into turn 1 in second place. Andrew Porter, pole position, fastest lap thus far and race lead, but had to work for it. Remember, dropped back to 3rd position on the opening lap as Gary Lawrence and Nick Hull were ahead of him. Porter picked off Nick Hull earlier on in the race and then put in an attacking drive to have a go at Gary Lawrence, and ultimately Lawrence's car giving up the ghost and out of the race. So Porter it is that's going to come through for a 5th win this season. It's going to be a 4th on the bounce actually as well. So this is the driver with a little bit of racing form and racing momentum, and that's not a bad thing to have with 2 rounds to go. 2 treble headers. We've got a 40-minute race for double points in the final round on the 20th of October at Donington Park. Plus all the other BRSCC race action that we'll have that weekend. So very well worth the trip up to the circuit next to East Midlands Airport, as Andrew Porter is going to win the opening race here of the weekend at Anglesey Circuit. Comes out of the final turn, looks for the checkered flag, and it's a win for Andrew Porter. Meanwhile, this is the battle for second place in the 924s. They're on their last lap. Pete Smith is the race leader. Carl Rossin still trying to hunt down Chris Valentine at the moment. These two have worked hard. Remember, it was Rossin that led in the early stages. I'll tell you what, he's closing up on Chris Valentine. There's no better time than to do it on the last lap. A little bit of bonnet flapping from the 41 car, but this is a close battle for second position here. Rossin closing up as they climb the hill up towards Rocket. Valentine maybe a little bit defensive, not overly so as they go into the complex. Here is the race leader though, Peter Smith. Only had 2 second places, the rest have all been wins. He's going to maintain that winning form again in the 18 car to take the win in the Classic 924s, but it was Andrew Porter who took the outright win and the Supersport Boxsters win from Nick Hull and Lee Bowden. Non-finish sadly for Gary Lawrence. Fastest lap to Andrew Porter, and in the 924s Peter Smith grabbing the win from Chris Valentine, Carl Rossin, John Jones and Andy Pritchard, with Peter Smith also getting the fastest lap of the race.
Bit of an interesting race. That one, you got a good start, but Nick managed to make a better one, and you had a lot of pressure from Gary, and then you managed to put the pressure onto Gary as well towards the end.
Yeah, it was a good race, enjoyable. The start, Nick got a really good start and got up the side of me. I thought I'd covered Gary off by staying to the inside, and the next minute he's going around the outside of me as well. So, but yeah, we had a good battle for a couple of laps, and then unfortunately I don't know what's gone wrong with Gary's car, but he didn't finish. But yeah, it was a good race.
It's more points for the championship. That's got to be something that you take into consideration. You're certainly putting a lot of pressure onto Gary towards the end there. Consistent fastest laps. That's all looking good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a big surprise, really. And I didn't think I'd be in this position. Yeah, having good fun out there with Gary, and as usual, a couple of gestures to each other and having a good laugh. And just a shame his car let down, because it could have been a good battle right to the end.
Race 2, what can you do?
I'd like to do the same again, but you never quite know what's going to happen, so just take it as it comes.
Okay, congratulations on your win. We'll look forward to speaking to you later on.
Cheers.
Nick, well done on second place. Great start, but it looked like something didn't quite go according to plan going into that first hairpin. What happened?
Yeah, I got a great start and then missed second gear, so fluffed it, got it in, and then just looked, sort of regathered my thoughts, thought, oh, I'm still doing all right here, so managed to, and then by that point, Gary had got a great start as well and was hounding Andy, so I managed to get away with it and come out of the first corner in the lead.
Yeah, Gary came around with quite a bit of momentum throughout the first couple of laps. When you saw him go past, what could you do?
Nothing, and to be fair, he pulled a good move on me. I just got out, braked myself up into the top, which lost me a bit of momentum, and he literally just got alongside me and powered out. So fair play to him, a lovely clean move. The wind around here is playing such a big, you're going up into the back corner and you're braking where you think you're going to brake, and the wind's not there, and you're going sailing on, and then you're braking the next lap where you think you're going to brake, and you're stopping far too short. It's just gusting so much. But great fun. Just a shame that Gary's car let go, because I think all three of us, it was we would have had a bit more of a fight at the end, because I think things were starting to go off tyres and such. So yes, hopefully he'll get it out for the next race.
And thinking about the second race, what are you planning to do? Is it same again and try not to miss the second gear?
Exactly, same again, a good start, no missing second gear, and try and hold Andy off. I just had no grip in the early laps from the rear end, so hopefully we can improve on that and get that worked out, and yeah, have some fun.
Brilliant. Well, congratulations. Look forward to seeing you out there.
Thanks ever so much.
Lee, well done on your third place. The old motorsport adage to finish first you must finish has played out well for you today.
Definitely paid off. It was definitely going to be the three of them cleared off at the front and just pick up any pieces that were left behind. It was unfortunate for Gary, but very fortunate for me. The start was interesting. Get to play about a little bit, but just gradually edged away, and where we ended up.
Is there much, when you're in that position and you're watching the other guys in front of you pull away, is there much that you can learn from that and just watch the lines that they're doing and try and pick up their braking points?
In the early stages, yes. The closer you can stay, the more you can see, obviously. After that, it's a bit of a guessing game, trying to judge your distances to see what you're doing right, whether you are gaining or being dropped back, and it's just working from there. Try not to make any mistakes, and hopefully they'll make plenty. But just have some fun.
And for the second race, do you think you can mix it up a little bit more with them, or is it still a case of learning and watching what they're doing?
Well, I'm hoping for rain, believe it or believe it not, but if it rains, we'll be a lot closer. If it stays like this, it'll be probably a very similar result, but just try and stay a little bit closer. I've learned a bit through that race, so hopefully we can take that into race 2 and see what happens from there.
Great, well, congratulations on your podium. We look forward to seeing you in race 2.
Lovely, thank you.
It's the second race for the Toyo Tyres Porsche Championship here at Anglesey, and the Boxsters will be starting as they finish. Gary Lawrence unable to get his car repaired and out for this second race after the engine blew up earlier on. And the 924 guys, Pete Smith is starting in pole position for the 924s. We'll just see if we can have a quick chat with Pete. Interest in the first race and going out in the second race, starting at the front of the 924 field. What can you do?
Get a better start, keep it at the front. Yeah, that's it really. Get off the line a bit better and try and keep everyone else behind. Really.
Car feeling okay at the moment? You seem to have had a good setup for the first race. Much to change for this one?
No, nothing really. No, just adjusting the brakes and a few little fettles, but that's it really. Nothing major.
So hopefully you'll be keeping everyone behind.
That's the plan, yeah.
Well, we wish you the best of luck, and hopefully we'll speak to you at the end.
Cheers,
thanks, Peter. So, let's see who else we can speak to. Let's have a chat with Chris Valentine if we can. Chris, second in the class on the grid. Fantastic first race. Is there much you can do with Pete in front?
It would be nice to get a first out of the last race. I'm chasing the championship and every point counts, so I'll try my hardest, but he is a very quick driver. Plus, of course, I've never ever raced here before.
Yeah, and it's an interesting circuit to race around. Helpful for you this weekend that Hugh's not turned up, so that's giving you some extra points in the championship. I guess it's all going to be about the first corner, isn't it?
Yeah, I did touch my teammate very slightly after the first hairpin, so my apologies there. We don't really want to be whacking each other if we can possibly help it. We pride ourselves on the standards of our racing, so yeah, contact should be avoided at all costs.
Well, hopefully none of that this time round, and we look forward to speaking to you after the race. Wish you all the best of luck out there, Chris.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Cheers. With that, it's over to Richard to take you through all of the race 2 action.
Cheers, Lloydie. Andrew Porter on pole position with Nick Hull next to him. On row 2, it's Lee Bowden. Sadly, as you heard, Gary Lawrence, his engine is blown, so he won't be taking the start in this one. 924 pole going to Pete Smith from Chris Valentine. Carl Rossin is third from John Jones, and then Andy Pritchard completing the lineup here for our second race. Race 15 of the championship. Just 4 more races to go after this weekend. The championship situation has changed a little bit after race number 1. We'll talk about that in race 2 because we're about to get the lights on for the second and final race of the weekend here. Lights are on. Out go the lights. Good start by the entire field. And Nick Hull trying to make it stick round the outside line into turn 1. Let's see whether Andrew Porter will get the run up into turn 2. He does. You can see the shadow at the front end of the car going through. But Nick will stick to his guns on the inside line. Gives room on the outside. Nick Hull's got the lead. That was a very good start. Excellent first couple of corners from Nick Hull, who leads round 15 of the championship here. And there's work to do for Andrew Porter in second place. Lee Bowden is third. We'll look back, and it's Pete Smith once again leading the 924s, this time from Carl Rossin in second position. It was Rossin the leader in race 1, but as they go up into the complex, Andrew Porter immediately on the offensive, wants to get the lead away here from Nick Hull. It was interesting to hear Nick's words after race 1 saying that, you know, towards the end of the race the tyres were going to maybe start to go off and would have evened things up, and I reckon that's probably the case as well. But it's Hull again leading this one. Porter, though, with some momentum in the championship now, hasn't quite managed to grab the championship lead. That's by virtue of the fact now that Gary Lawrence won't drop any scores now. Lawrence's total will be 159.5 points. But Porter, if he finishes this race, will take the championship lead by my reckoning, and he's starting to put the pressure on, or continue to put the pressure on, Nick Hull as they go up into turn 2 again. I'm guessing Porter knows that he's got time in this race, 20-minute race, to be able to decide where is the best place to make the move, and now just goes a little bit wider as they head down into Church, and that will give him more momentum, maybe through School and up the hill into Rocket. But this makes a great sight as they come out of School Corner. The 44 car still leading. Lee Bowden in third place, heading for another podium. Nick Hull maintains speed here, goes across, but not totally, and leaves half a gap, and through on the inside line goes Porter. Hull's trying to fight back, and the back end just broke away on the 44 car. Nick Hull down into third position, trying to defend the lead. Again, you have to say, clean and fair racing from the Toyo Tyres BRSCC Porsches. There was no contact in that, and Nick was trying to make sure that it was a fair battle for the lead, but it's Porter that goes through. Nick Hull down to third, Lee Bowden second, and it's going to be now interesting to see whether Nick Hull can close down on Lee Bowden. But there's our race leader, Andrew Porter, looking to try and make it a double here on Anglesey this weekend. Lee Bowden in second position. Potentially Leon for a career best here in the Supersport Boxster category. Had started off his Supersport campaign with 6th place at Brands Hatch, a brace of those as we ride in car with Nick Hull, and the target's going to be those 2 cars in front. And do you know what? That's a fair gap, and those cars' lap times are fairly close, so Nick Hull's going to have a lot of work to do to close down on the first car, let alone the new race leader Andrew Porter, who's made a very good start to proceedings here in our final race of the weekend. What it is going to do, I'm going to start to talk about championship points, because if Andrew Porter grabs this one and fastest lap, he'll move on to 163 points in the championship and will be 3.5 points ahead of Gary Lawrence. Now, with 4 races to go in the championship, it's going to be a nail-biting end to the season. In car with Carl Rossin, he's second in the Classic 924s. Rossin, of course, first race of the year, so not in the championship standings. Smith, if he takes a win here, with fastest lap, will move into 5.5 points of Hugh Pert. He's already got more wins than Hugh Pert. He's got 7 wins in the championship this year, looking for win number 8. But again, in the 924s, a reminder, 4 races to go after this one, and we've got the lead 2 drivers in each class potentially separated by 4 or 5 points going into the last 2 rounds of the year. That's how competitive both of these class championships are. Could get settled at Silverstone, but I'd say probably unlikely at this stage. We've got 2 treble headers. It's not 4 races, is it? It's 6 races coming up. I think I said 4. Apologies for that. 6 races coming up in this wonderful championship once again. So Rossi not that far behind, blowing away his racing cobwebs. Chris Valentine is in third. Chris is again going to close in on John Jones points-wise, but I don't think it's got enough in the tank. If Jones finishes this race in the 639 car, he will have enough points to continue to have fended off Chris Valentine for third in the championship standings. But as we said, 6 races still to go, so all to play for. It's going to be a very exciting run into the end of the 2019 Toyo Tyres BRSCC Porsche Championship. Smith, though, looking for win number 8. In car with Chris Valentine, comes downhill into the corkscrew. Again, I'm just taking in how breathtaking the views here on Anglesey. Not a circuit I've driven, but a circuit I've commentated at many times, and the view always breathtaking. It's a superb track to come and watch. A beautiful circuit, hoping for investment to attract the likes of maybe British touring cars in a few years' time. That would be that will be some competition to see here with all their supports. But it's Peter Smith in the 18 really running well. Amazing that it's still not going to be enough points to pass Hugh Pert in the championship standing. Interestingly, if we'd had one more driver in the 924s this weekend, by my reckoning, Smith would have taken the championship lead, but the points are adjusted depending on the number of starters in each class. Just trying to work out, yeah, the only other driver who has raced this year who isn't here is Hugh Pert. So there's talk of some guest drivers coming out for the final round of the year, the longer race, and more about that anon. That's going to be certainly one race to look forward to. And Silverstone International next time out, 6th of October, if you could join us that weekend. So a little bit of a break for these cars. They've got September off for good behaviour, and our last two events of the season, I'm sure, are going to be absolute stonkers. There's Cole Ross in second place. Back to the race leader, though, in the Classic 924s. Peter Smith goes across the line. Fastest lap on lap 3 for him, a 1:23.779. Andrew Porter fastest in the Supersport Boxsters still. Again on lap 3, 1:19.505. So both of those guys quick out of the box. Lee Bowden is not being left. This is a great drive from Lee Bowden. Potentially on for a career best second position in the Supersport Boxsters. Has experience of this track when he was running in the production class. And having a good run here. If Andrew Porter makes an error, then Lee Bowden potentially could be on for a win, but Porter's not made any mistakes, any glaring mistakes so far this year. One retirement, which was race 1 at Croft, so he does drop considerably more points at the moment than Gary Lawrence, who doesn't start this race. And Lawrence, like Nick Hull, there is Nick in 3rd place. So Nick recovering well from that incident after the pass by Andrew Porter on lap 2 of the race, and he's running well. So Nick Hull's best lap, a 1:19.8. Lee Bowden's best lap is faster than Nick Hull, so we perhaps would have expected Nick Hull to have closed in and reclaimed, or at least battled for second position, but at the moment, by my reckoning, that's not looking too likely. So it's Andrew Porter leading, Lee Bowden holding good station and close proximity in second, Nick Hull in third. Welcome back to Anglesey, and again, still on board with Nick Hull, 3rd position in the race in this one. You can see Lee Bowden in black immediately ahead of him. Lee 3 or 4 seconds clear at the moment of Nick Hull, and then another couple of seconds ahead of Lee is Andrew Porter. There is Nick Hull, just a flash of black as Lee Bowden goes through, still in 2nd position and on potentially for his best finish in the Supersport class, last year's production champion. Nick Hull trying to close him down. He's been a good driver, as good as any I've seen by Lee Bowden here, and he's going to be massively buoyed if he can take a second position. It's his good pace. And at the moment, just judging by the laps that we've seen so far, Nick Hull is not going to have enough time to close down on Lee Bowden. So it's not to say we won't see any mistakes, but Nick might have to content himself with 3rd position. Down into the corkscrew, the track you can see, or could see, just going off to the left is the full international circuit here. Some championships will run around on the coastal circuit, which is the one we're using today, the shorter 1.5 mile circuit on one day, and then run the full international circuit on day 2. Here, though, is the battle for 4th place in the Classic 924s. It's John Jones holding sway here at the moment, up ahead of Andy Pritchard. This is the way they started. Jones in 4th, Pritchard in 5th position. Pritchard only did the first 2 rounds of the championship with us, did 4 races before a retirement in race 3 at Snetterton. All of those 4 races, though, were podium finishes, a 3rd, a 2nd and 2 more 3rds at Snetterton. I'll tell you what, starting to put pressure here on John Jones. So this is a good battle. Looks up the inside line. He's going to be brave to maybe attempt the outside line as they come up into Rocket. They're both hard on the brakes, but the number 11 car slightly the harder on the brakes. And it's John Jones that hangs on to 4th position. Andy Pritchard, though, really giving him notice of intent. Just looking back at those two guys' results, John Jones was 4th at Brands Hatch in the opening round of the year. Pritchard just ahead of him, and then 2nd in race 2, ahead of Chris Valentine and John Jones. Jones beating Pritchard at Snetterton in the first race with a 2nd, same again in race 2, and then a 3rd in race 3, which of course Pritchard didn't finish. So these two have been really battling when they've been together all season. A quick look back to see how Nick Hull is doing. Now coming down into the corkscrew complex, you see that the black machine, there it is, still there. Lee Bowden's still immediately ahead, so Nick Hull just doing everything that he can, concentrate on his racing lines, get a quicker and quicker laps if he can, but still at the moment not closing down on Lee Bowden in 2nd place. Now let's have a look and see whether 4th position will reignite between these two. It's John Jones still there at the moment in 639. Chris Valentine, if you look ahead, can't see the 3rd place car. Chris Valentine's got his head down, still hasn't been able to get the better of Carl Rossin though. Pete Smith still leading the 924s from Carl Rossin. Chris Valentine 3rd. John Jones is in 4th place. Now, this is important for Jones because he is defending 3rd position in the championship from Chris Valentine. So he'll know that Chris is ahead of him. Chris might be able to sneak an extra point if Andy Pritchard goes past him. Talking of Chris Valentine, we ride on board with him coming through turn 1. The white speck in the distance is Carl Rossin. And we've still got Pete Smith leading this one. Peter Smith will, as I said in the first part of this race, will move to within 5 points of Hugh Pert, having racked up an 8th win of the season. There is Carl Rossin in the 41 car. 8 race wins in the Porsche 924 Championship over the years, including one here on Anglesey. So has terrific form going back over the years. To having a little bit of a lonely race of it at the moment. Have a look at the lap times for these two. Rossin with a 1:24.3. Pete Smith, the only driver in the 924s, into the 1:23s. Again, all of them seem to be setting the best laps on lap 3. Sometimes when it's early in the race, it happens on lap 2. But it was lap 3 with most of the race cars. Andrew Porter outright on lap 3. Peter Smith on lap 3 as well. And we get the Supersport Boxsters starting to catch some of the classic 924s. Nick Hull round the outside of Andy Pritchard. John Jones will see him, goes to the outside line, very well read by John Jones, and allowing Nick Hull through, as we would expect, the 924s being caught in the later stages of this race by the Supersport Boxsters. And I'll tell you what, Nick Hull has closed in a little bit on Lee Bowden, but it's just not enough progress, I don't think, to be able to overhaul him. If they continue at the pace that they're running at, it's going to be Porter, Bowden and Hull, your podium. As now we've got a change of position there. Andy Pritchard is up into 4th ahead of John Jones. Now, was that when Jones took the wide line into the Rocket complex? We didn't see the actual pass. They're on to the last lap, so Jones losing a point potentially there by being passed, losing a point on Chris Valentine's charge to try and close him down. But here is Andrew Porter, who will go into the lead of the Supersport Boxster category, and assuming he holds on to fastest lap, will go on to 163 points from Gary Lawrence's 159.5, with Nick Hull maintaining 3rd on 138.5, and still lots of racing to go before the end of the season. But Andrew Porter, I've got to say, was very modest in the interview, saying he didn't expect to be where he is championship-wise, but he's driven well over the course of the season. Comes down the corkscrew for the last time. Porter looking for a double here. downhill run, one of the most satisfying runs in British motorsport. Round the final turn, watch for the checkered flag. Andrew Porter makes it 2 out of 2 here on Anglesey. Just 4 seconds behind is Lee Bowden. Nick Hull is third. There's Chris Valentine going through for third in the 924 Classic 924s. But it was a win for Porter from Lee Bowden and Nick Hull. Fastest lap for Andrew Porter. The Classic 924s headed once again by Peter Smith, who makes it a double. Carl Ross in second. Third place, Chris Valentine from Andy Pritchard and John Jones. Great battle between those two. Peter Smith taking fastest lap in the 924s.
Pete, well done on your class victory there in the 924s. A lot going on in that race, really.
Yeah.
Certainly behind you.
Yeah, there was. Obviously, I didn't see much what was going on behind, so I was just glad to get off the start and yeah, keeping the lead to the first corner, which makes things a little bit easier. But Carl was always there for the first few laps, and you know, he's quick, and it's good to have him back on track because he's not done any this year. So I knew it would be quite an exciting weekend having Carl about. So yeah, all good fun and good to take the 2 wins. And I don't know whether fastest lap or not, I don't know, but all the points, every point counts at this stage of the season, so well happy with that. Chuffed.
Yeah, getting close to the end of the season now, isn't it? The championship starts to become a bit more of an interesting battle.
Definitely does, yeah, it's pretty close. I don't know what the scores will be, but Hugh's going to be there or thereabouts going into Silverstone next, so imperative that get the car right, make sure it's reliable, and you know, get the results there, and then Donington for which will be a 40-minute like mini endurance race, which will be interesting. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Certainly look forward to seeing you next time out, and congratulations once again on your victory.
Cheers, thank you very much.
Carl, firstly, congratulations on your second place, and it's great to have you back out there racing. Really hard weekend for you.
It's been brilliant, to be honest. You know, the weather's been pretty kind. First time out this year. Happy with a third and a second just now, so I can't ask for anything more, really. Good battle with Pete, certainly with Chris Valentine as well. Great weekend.
Yeah, it's been good to watch you out there. As you say, the battle in that last race between you and Chris, there was a lot going on.
Yeah, well, you know, it's just great. You know, we're all of a similar standard. We all give each other a little bit of fighting room as well, and it's great to just do battle out there. And you know, I've just had a brilliant day.
Are we going to see any more of you this year?
I'd like to think that we might get out at Donington for the last meeting, which is a 40-minute race at the end of the season there. So you know, look forward to that certainly.
Brilliant. Well, we look forward to seeing you there. Congratulations once again on your podium.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much.
Chris, congratulations on third place. A big battle going on with Carl throughout that race. A lot of action.
There certainly was in the first few laps. I nearly stuffed Carl up the backside. Pete locked up into a corner. I really thought that he was going to go straight on. Carl, I thought maybe would make the corner, but I really got close to ended up in his boot.
Yeah, and towards the end there as well, there was still a little bit of fight there in you, but it's an interesting track, this one at Anglesey, isn't it? Trying to find a way through.
Yeah, I'm impressed, I must say, with my own performance, having never raced here. We were lucky with the weather today. Maybe I would have done a little bit better in the wet, but perhaps on reflection it was a good idea to have a couple of dry races.
Next time out, Silverstone, what can you do there?
Yeah, again, I need to be really on it. We get Hugh back in the championship. He's obviously gone through his drop points this weekend, so he'll be pulling ahead of us unless I can beat him, and I really need to do better. You know, I need first and seconds if I possibly can.
Well, we wish you all the best. We look forward to seeing you out there. Congratulations once again on your podium.
Thank you very much.